Oh, give me Jesus. You can have all this world. Give me
And good, bright, and beautiful morning. Here we are back at our regularly scheduled programming time. So I'm really glad to see you here today. These are not going out live, but I am actually monitoring the comments. So if you do drop a comment live during the premiere of this, then that is absolutely fine. And also, don't forget, we are going to be doing every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time, we are going to go live and answer any comments or questions you have verbally and maybe unpack it a little bit more. So you might make a comment. I might make a quick reply to it on the channel in text, but we'll unpack the comments more when we are looking at these live on Sunday. And these will be comments from the shorts and they will be comments from our broadcast. But today, this broadcast is all about Jacob, how he steals away, and what Rachel steals too. Stick around. We'll be right back after this.
You can have all this world. Give me Jesus.
And if you do find any value in this video, this content, do me a favor, click like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content in the future. But definitely comment, and share, because when you share God's word, his word does not return void. So that is a really, really big deal. We want to share God's word, and maybe you're a little timid about talking to people directly, but maybe if you found something valuable here or in the shorts version of this, because usually in about a month, the shorts version comes out of my videos. And so in that time, maybe you want to share some of it. Maybe you see the shorts and you just want to share that. Definitely share. But the comments are even more important because those are what we are going to be discussing and either validating your position or just maybe taking a little bit deeper dive into the comments that you leave for me. So we'll be doing that every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So tune in on Sundays at 7 p.m. Central when we will be live. And hopefully, actually, you may not see this studio after today. Because we are setting up a new studio. So it has yet been decided whether we're going to do that today later and set up the new studio or whether we're just going to break this one down. We don't quite know yet, but we are definitely moving the studio to a different space in the house and eventually to a different space entirely. And as we get through this, you guys are going to learn so much more and you're going to learn about some amazing opportunities because we're going to take this show live and on the road in a little bit. So I don't want to give too many spoilers. So let's get into this. Let us take care of God's word today and let's get into our passage and see what God has for us today. All right, here we go. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's hath he gotten all his glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock. And he said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father hath deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God suffered him not to hurt me. And if he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckled. And if he said thus, the ring streak shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ring streaked. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream and beheld the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring streaked, speckled, and grizzled. And the angel of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring-streaked, speckled, and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth to thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowest a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered him and said unto him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us and hath quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God had taken from our father, that is ours and our children's. Now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon camels, and he carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten in Padan Aram, for to go to Isaac unto the land of, for to go to Isaac, sorry, I apologize for that, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face toward the Mount Gilead. All right. And we want God to bless the reading of his word, of course. And all right, let's get into this. So here's what we do know. All right, starting at this, we see that we're going to put down in our notes, and I apologize, I forgot to do notes yesterday because I was so excited about our new format and all the options that are available that I was just like, yay. So Genesis 31, though, 1 through 21 is what we are covering today. And we're going to start in verses 1 through, let's see here. Well, we're just going to say verses 1 and 2. All right. Because basically what happens here is Laban's sons are jealous of Jacob and start to talk smack. Here we go. And they start to talk smack again. He goes, isn't this Jacob? He's taken everything that was our father's and all that was our father's. He's taken it all away. He's taken all of my dad's stuff. That's just not fair. That's not right. Dad, what are you going to do? And Laban is listening. And Laban is listening. And Jacob notices. Now, for those of you that may not know what the word countenance means, it means his face. Laban's face, it says, and Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. What this actually means is that Laban was kind of looking at Jacob side eyes. He's kind of looking at him sideways, like he's giving him side eye. He's like, I don't know about this Jacob. I don't know about him. What am I going to do about him? What's he doing to me? And so Laban is just not sure because his sons are in one ear going, blah, 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 blah. Jacob, however, isn't saying anything, but he notices that Laban's starting to look at him suspiciously. That's an insecure thing for him. So what does he do? So in verse 3 to verses 3 through 6, he calls his wives and discusses the situation. All right. So it says, and Jacob, and the Lord said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy fathers and thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field with his flock. So he does this kind of on the sly. He doesn't do this like at home. It's not like he comes home from the field and he sits down with Rachel and Leah and says, okay, we got to have a family meeting. He goes, you got to come to the field. Come see me out in the field. I want you to come out here because we can have some privacy here. We don't have to worry about your dad overhearing. We don't have to worry about your dad getting in the way of this. And he tells them a story. And he goes, you know that all my power I've served your father. He's like, you know I've done well by your father. He goes, and then he goes on and he says in verses 7 through 13, Jacob tells the story of how God led him to the ring streak bargain, basically. And how God saw that Laban wasn't doing right by Jacob. And so he sent Jacob a dream, and he says, look, it says, thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time they conceived, I saw in a dream that the cattle were ring streaked, speckled, and grizzled. The angel of God spake unto me in a dream in verse 11, saying, Jacob. And I said, here am I. And he said, lift up now thine eyes and see all the rams, for I have seen all that Laban hath done. All that Laban, sorry, go back to this. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. God's like, I get it. Laban's been messing with you, and I see it. The angel of the Lord comes to him and says, I get it. Laban's not treating you right. Don't worry, I got this. And he goes, I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowest a vow unto me. All right, so you remember this section. Let's see if we can go back to it here. It's actually Genesis 29, or Genesis 28, rather. Let me see if I can find it here. We may not have done notes that day. That is hilarious. That's another day that I forgot to do notes. I apologize. But it was back in Genesis 28 verses, let's see, let's go back to it. If I go back there, go back to Genesis 28, and this is where he goes, and it is verses 10, and he goes, not 10, sorry. He vowed a vow, if God be with me and will keep me in this way, then I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my fathers, and this stone way I've set up shall be a pillar of God's house. If you remember, Bethel means the house of God, if you remember that. And so God reminds him of this. He goes, remember, I'm the God, I'm the house of God. I am the God that you set up that pillar to, that you anointed that pillar, recognizing that this place was a holy place and it was the house of God. I'm the God. I'm that God. I'm the God you talk to there, and I'm with you here now in Haran. So he goes, okay. And he goes, I am the God of Bethel, and get thee out from this land and return to the land of thy kindred. So the ring streak bargain, and that God said it was time to return to Canaan. He's like, yep, it's time to go. It's time to go. And now at certain points, Rachel and Leah were at odds with each other, and they were not very good at getting along, and they were not very good. Rachel doesn't always support Jacob and everything. She's very selfish, entitled. We saw with the mandrakes and her drug addiction, potentially. We don't know for sure she was drug addicted, but definitely she wanted the pleasure of that mandrake for herself. And so she preferred the pleasure of the mandrake, whatever it did for her, the buzz it gave her, to the pleasure of her husband. So she doesn't always make good choices, and we're going to see another bad choice she makes here in a second. But even she says, they answered and said unto him, is there yet any portion of the inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? Like, we're not even part of his house anymore. Like, he doesn't even see us as his children. He doesn't see us as somebody to give a dowry or an inheritance to. He sold us off to you. He says, for he hath sold us and hath quite devoured also our money. So they're like, our dowry that we should have had, that should be yours anyway, Dad sold it off, and he kind of sold us to you, like for 7 years of labor on either side. And they're like, look, Dad's not a good guy. We get it. He's not good. He's not great. Let's go. And she goes, and they go, for all the riches. He goes, now in verse 16, now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. So they tell him in verse 14 and through 16, Rachel and Leah agree that their father is not a good guy. And they agree to leave with Jacob. And they say, because God said it. Because God said to. They said, look, whatever God tells you to do, we're on board with it. Let's go. This is the God of our fathers as well. Maybe not so much our direct father, but our ancestry. We have the same God that you have. And if God says to do it, then we're going to do it. So, verse 17. Verse 17 through 18. Jacob packs everything up. Remember, this meeting took place in the field. They're still out in the field. They're still out there. And he rose up, he set his son and his wives upon camels. And he carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten in Padan Aram. So those are things that he had before. For to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. All right. So Jacob packs everyone and everything. And they take off. All the kids, all the wives, all the servants, all the everything they have, they pack it up, they get them on camels, and they head out. They take all their cattle with them. They take all of their stuff. All right. And then we have verse 19. It says, and Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. So, okay, when it says the images, it's actually talking about idols. So we know that Rachel stole her father's idols, and those idols were in the sheep shearing shed, like the area where they sheared the sheep, because they were there as, like, say, talismans, or to look over, or to watch over, to be able to, you know, celebrate and give obeisance to at that point. So when Laban, who doesn't even know that they're gone, that Jacob and them are actually, he doesn't even know that they're actually gone. What Laban notices, and this is a very, very interesting point. When Laban goes to shear the sheep, he notices his idols are gone before he notices Jacob and crew are gone. And we know that Rachel took them. It's interesting that Laban thought these idols were obviously of more importance than Jacob and crew. Like, Jacob has 2 wives and 4 mothers of his children, 11 kids, a ton of cattle, a ton of camels. They all pack up and leave without Laban even noticing it. But Laban notices his idols are gone. That's what he notices. Like, they're able to leave this entire huge group of people. Let's see. So we've got 11 kids, 12 now if you want to count Jacob, because that's the 12th person. 4 wives, or 2 wives and 2 concubines. So we've got 16. And that doesn't even count. That's 16 people. The fact that you don't even notice 16 people have left your household, but you notice a bunch of idols missing from your sheep shearing shed. That's an interesting context. It says, and Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian. It doesn't mean he stole away to him. It means unawares to Laban the Syrian, meaning that Laban the Syrian did not notice that he had stolen unaware, like he had stolen away. So it says, unaware to Laban the Syrian, in that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face toward the Mount Gilead. So let's take a look. Let me see if I still have it here. We still have Jacob's travels. So let's take a look at Jacob's travels and notice where he's going away to. All right. And in fact, let me pull this up. I'm going to pull this up and we're going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. Okay. This right here, there's Haran at the top. We can see this. And actually, let's turn this off. And let's just go with number 1 camera. All right, you can see right here that he was up in Haran, and now he's going down to the hill country of Gilead. So this whole region here on the east side of the River Jordan, right here, this is Gilead. And it's hill country. And that is where Jacob is headed. It's funny because I'm looking this way, but really I should be looking this way. But then I'm looking away from the actual monitor, which is a bizarre feeling. So the hill country of Gilead, right? And that is where he is headed. He's headed right over there from Haran. He goes because he steals away, and that's what he's about to do. He steals away to the hill country of Gilead. All right. And so verse 20 through 21. Jacob goes to the east of the Jordan River without Laban knowing. But we are going to see, and I'm going to go on and kind of like pre-do verse 22 here. It says in 23, it says, and it was told Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob was fled. 3 days. So he notices his idols are missing. And 3 days later, he notices that he's now told that Jacob's gone. 3 days. All these sheep and all these cattle and all these camels and all these people, 16 people for sure, and probably more servants, because I'm sure that Jacob had manservants. I'm sure he had people to help him with his cattle that were his own personal crew, shall we say. And so we've got like probably 30 people all total, between the men who probably helped tend the sheep and things and Jacob's direct family. We know at least there's one daughter, Dinah, almost forgot about her. So we know there's 12 children for sure, and maybe more that just aren't recorded because girls weren't really recorded so much. But maybe up to 30 people and tons of cattle and camels and all their stuff is gone. And Laban has to be told that they're gone. And then on verse 23, and he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. So we're going to pick up there tomorrow. We'll recap that 23 and 22 and 23 tomorrow, or rather the next day. Next time we're in Genesis. So because we are going to be on a Wisdom and Worship Wednesday between these two. So yeah. So we now know that Jacob's gone away, and Rachel did steal those idols. It does tell us right there in verse 19, and Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. Rachel stole them. And I want you to find it, I think you're going to find it really interesting when Laban catches up with Jacob, what actually happens. Because yeah, what actually happens is a little bit bizarre. It's a little bit weird. Yeah, a little bit odd that what Laban seems to think is really important. But we have Wisdom and Worship Wednesday tomorrow. So I hope that you're here and you join me for that. But for now, this is what we've got. And this is where we're leaving Jacob. Jacob and everybody have left. They're going back home. He's going to introduce Rachel and Leah. He says he wants to introduce him to his father. His mother probably is what he'd like to. because we don't know the state of Rebecca or anything yet. So I'm sure he would like to take them all back and say, hey, look, Dad, you and Mom sent me off to get me some good wives. So I've come back. I've got some great wives. I've got lots of children. God's already making his promise come true. But we've got a long ways to go before Jacob actually gets back. So we'll be back here after we hit that Wisdom and Worship Wednesday. All right. Bye for now.
Give me Jesus. When I am alone, oh, when I am alone, when I am alone, give me Jesus, give me Jesus.